there, and welcome to the Big Seven Stories on Wells Television. I am Bolanle Oduekun-Ayoola. Now, every week we count down the 7 stories that everyone is talking about, from the news that shakes the nation to the events that are shaping our world. So, you know that if it made the headlines, it's right here on the Big Seven. But before we get into the Big Seven for today, have you subscribed to our YouTube channel? I know you're watching this video, but have you subscribed? If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe now. Click on the subscribe button that is right below this video and also click on the bell. That bell is the notification to let you know when your favorite videos are uploaded. All right? Thank you so much for subscribing. Take it one step further and like our page on Facebook at Wells Television. Like us on Facebook as well. Don't forget to like our posts and also share. That said and done, let's get into the Big Seven. Our first story on the Big Seven stories. President of Nigeria, Bola Tinubu, this week appointed Professor Joash Ojo Amupiton, SAN, as the new chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, replacing Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, whose tenure had already expired. Now, Professor Amupiton's appointment, announced after approval by the National Council of State, has been described as part of President Tinubu's plan to restore credibility and strengthen public confidence in Nigeria's electoral body. Now, Professor Amupiton is a 64-year-old law professor from the University of Jos. He was once a dean of law. He's a senior advocate of Nigeria and former legal advisor to the Nigerian Bar Association. The presidential spokesperson who spoke explained that Amupiton was chosen for his record of integrity, independence, and courage. But not everyone is convinced. Now, some critics are questioning whether the new INEC boss has ties to the ruling APC. There's been so much misinformation on the internet, but the presidency has dismissed such claims, insisting that Professor Amupiton never worked on President Tinubu's election legal team, contrary to speculation, and that has been found to be very correct. He actually never worked on President Tinubu's election legal team. Now, for Nigerians, the challenge ahead of 2027 is very clear: ensuring the Electoral Commission regains public trust before the 2027 general elections. Because we remember what happened at the 2023 general elections, with people claiming that the elections were not, very free and fair. We also had several cases, where the courts had to decide the winner of the election, and Nigerians, are generally growing tired of that trend. Now, with the new chairman of INEC, all eyes are turning to INEC's next move, especially its handling of the upcoming off-cycle governorship elections in some states. Also, eyes are on the Senate with, when it comes to them having to also approve of Professor Amupiton as the INEC chairman. Is it going to be, rigorous questions, or is it just going to be the usual bow and go? This is something that is left for us to see. We're still looking forward, to all of this, so we'll keep our eyes on it. Our second story on the Big Seven stories for today is the controversy over the alleged Christian genocide in Nigeria. Now, Nigeria has this week and last week come under international spotlight after U.S. lawmaker Ted Cruz alleged that Christians in Nigeria are being systematically targeted in the country. This claim was made during a U.S. congressional briefing. It was described that, as ongoing violence in parts of Nigeria, was described as a Christian genocide. Now, the federal government swiftly rejected this allegation. They called it false, unfair, and politically motivated. The Minister of Information said the violence in Nigeria's Middle Belt and North is largely communal and criminal, but it is not one thing, it is not religious, saying that both Christians and Muslims, as long as they're Nigerians, are being killed. However, the Christian Association of Nigeria can, via a statement on its website, backed calls for deeper international investigation. They said the suffering of victims should not be downplayed. On the other hand, the Nigerian Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs also waded into this matter describing the genocide tag as misleading and dangerous, and warning against framing communal crisis as faith wars. Also, Senator Ali Ndume, the chief whip of the Senate, went further, calling the American claim an insult to Nigeria's diversity. Now, this back and forth simply shows us a striking and deeper truth that there is insecurity in Nigeria and it's worsening. And until justice and equity are seen across board, religious narratives will just keep finding space. So whether Christians or Muslims or traditionalists or atheists, Nigerians are being killed largely in the Middle Belt and in northern Nigeria. And the earlier the security apparatus of our country stands up to its responsibilities, the better for all Nigerians. Moving on to our third story on the Big Seven Stories for today is a move that has stirred both history and emotion because President Bola Tinubu this week granted presidential pardons to Herbert Macaulay, General Mamman Vatsa, Farouk Lawan, and 174 others. We know Herbert Macaulay, a nationalist, an engineer, and one of Nigeria's founding fathers. He was posthumously pardoned over a century after his 1928 conviction by British colonial authorities. Also pardoned were late General Vatsa, who was executed in 1986 for alleged coup plotting under Babangida's regime. Also, we saw ex-lawmaker Farouk Lawan, who was jailed for bribery in the fuel subsidy scandal. We also saw him pardoned. In total, we had about 175 individuals pardoned and 82 inmates receiving clemency on compassionate grounds. According to the State House, on its website, it says the move reflects Tinubu's commitment. According to the State House, on its website, it says the move reflects President Tinubu's commitment to reconciliation, national healing, and decongestion of prisons. But Nigerians across social media have said, if indeed and in truth, this move is reflective of the president's commitment to reconciliation, how about take a look at the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu, currently struggling on the case with the DSS and, hasn't been allowed medical care. For families of those affected, however, that's the families of those who have been granted clemency or those who have been pardoned, it's a symbolic closure. And for historians, it's a rare blending of justice and memory. And for some, they say, can you grant a person pardon if they didn't commit the offense? So if you're granting them pardon, you're indirectly saying that they truly committed the offense. But let's move to our next story on the Big Seven Stories today. This is coming from Latin America, where we have a new face of democracy receiving a global honor. Maria Corina Machado, Venezuela's main opposition leader, has won the 2025 Nobel Peace Prize for her courageous struggle for democracy and human rights. Machado, who was once a Yale World Fellow and an outspoken critic of Nicolas Maduro's regime, has spent years under house arrest and travel bans, and the Nobel Committee praised her unyielding faith in non-violence despite persecution. In Caracas, her supporters filled the streets waving Venezuelan flags, calling the award a victory for every silenced voice. World leaders, including US President Donald Trump and EU officials, have congratulated her and have urged Maduro to ensure free elections next year. Let's see what the Nobel Peace Prize Committee had to say and also the response of the new winner of the Nobel Peace Prize, Maria Corina Machado.
Hello?
Hello.
Yes?
Yes.
Hello?
Am I talking to Maria Corina Machado?
Yes, this is Maria Corina.
Yes, Maria Corina. My name is Christian Berghardt Piken. I am the secretary of the Norwegian Nobel Committee in Oslo. And I'm calling to inform you that in a few minutes it shall be announced here at the Nobel Institute that you will be awarded the Nobel Peace Prize for 2025.
Oh my God.
So the warmest congratulations to you, Maria.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Well, I have no words. Thank you so much.
This is a story of courage, and it reminds the world that democracy, although battered, still breeds heroes. On our fifth story on the Big Seven stories, we come back home, where controversy hits the Nigeria's cabinet again as the Minister of Science, Innovation and Technology, Uche resigned following allegations of certificate forgery. Following reports by Premium Times that alleged that Naji had submitted fake university and NYSC documents during his appointment process, the University of Nigeria, Nsukka, disowned the certificates. They stated that there was no record that he graduated. So they actually put it on X and said, while we can confirm that we have records that this person was offered admission, we do not have records to support the fact that he actually graduated. Now, just a couple of days of back and forth with the former minister now saying that this was from his political enemies. He resigned and dropped his resignation letter, forwarded his resignation letter to the president, but still categorically stating that he never forged any certificate. Now, civil groups and lawyers have demanded his prosecution. They're calling it a test of Nigeria's anti-corruption promises. Don't forget that the ex-minister has denied wrongdoing. He said he left the office to clear his name, and he says that he will definitely see his detractors in court. This is not the first time we're seeing something of such in Nigeria. Remember the former finance minister who also was alleged to have forged her exemption of NYSC certificate, although she eventually came out clean. It was eventually shown that she didn't forge anything. But this, reopens a familiar debate. How effective are background checks in Nigeria's political appointment? On our next story on the Big Seven story, which is our sixth story, it's shaping to be Nigeria's biggest political migration in years because 2 sitting governors and dozens of lawmakers, according to what we hear, are preparing to defect to the ruling All Progressives Congress. Now, reports are indicating that Governor Peter Mbah of Enugu and Governor Nobel Diri of Bayelsa will formally announce their defection to the All Progressives Congress next week. In Enugu, the move could see about 24 House members, 260 councillors, and the entire PDP exco cross over. This is because the APC has already dissolved its state leadership to integrate the new entrants. Now, this is obviously moving to what's going to happen in 2027. We will also see a new senator as well, a Labour Party senator who also moved to the APC, granting the APC an almost 2/3 majority in the House. The PDP is alleging that there's coercion and inducement, is calling this wave a democracy of desperation. But whether this shift really strengthens the APC or fractures Nigeria's opposition further, the coming weeks, months, and the year leading up to 2027 will tell us. On our last story on the Big Seven stories, and I can say this with a smile on my face, finally to sports. Nigeria Super Eagles have given fans a reason to cheer, at least for now. Nigeria beat Lesotho 2-1 in the 2026 World Cup qualifier. Goals from William Troost Ekong and others sealed victory. Lesotho struck back late to make it nervous. They had won, but the coach has praised the team's resilience. Coach Eric Shaw praised the team's resilience, but admitted that they played under pressure. Now, Nigeria must beat Benin in the final match and hope that South Africa slips to book a place at the World Cup. For millions of fans of Nigeria, the dream is still alive. Barely, but it's alive nonetheless. And that's how the week looked. 7 big stories, 1 clear picture. Thank you for watching the Big 7 stories on Wells Television. I am Bolanle Oduekun-Ayoola. Remember, the news doesn't end when the bulletin does. So stay curious, stay informed, and I'll see you next week with another Big 7. Bye-bye.